Hello World of Warcraft fans, welcome back to a new video on my channel. The first season of World of Warcraft Midnight is coming to an end, and at this point we want to take a look at which specs players are currently playing the most and which specs are performing the best right now. We'll take a look at all of this for Mythic Raids, so stay tuned, it's going to be interesting. We have some big winners from the 12.0 class tuning. It's worth it. So go ahead and leave a like, subscribe for more, and let's get into the whole story. And first take a look here at how often certain specs are played. Here we have all the bosses, or rather all the raids, so to speak. So Sporefall is actually played the least on Mythic, but that's probably because the raid is the newest. We can see here across all raid logs, the most played is Unholy DK with 34,000 log passes, Frostmage with 32,000, followed by Beastmaster with 27,000, and Paladin Retri with 26,000. So those are the two, I'll call them evergreens. Beastmaster and Retri always seem to be played no matter how good or bad they are, and we can see that here again. It's especially surprising with Beastmaster since it doesn't actually perform that well across all bosses. To be exact, it's in second to last place. But still, it's played quite often. We'll just include the average DPS values for this, and otherwise, yeah, everything is relatively stable. Warlocks are most often played as demo, and Evokers as augmentation. Demon Hunter, it's no surprise that the Devourer is played most often. After that, we have a lot right in the middle between 15,000 and 5,000, and at the lower end, we actually see Affliction and Destro. So there's a clear trend there. If the specs aren't good, they're hardly played. Devastation Evoker, and then in the last four places, 2 mages and 2 rogues. Fire Mage, Outlaw Rogue, Arcane Mage, and Assassination Rogue. So that's pretty clear, especially with the mage, since usually something like fire was always quite popular to play. But, well, in terms of performance, we're looking at the 95th percentile here, so the top 5% of logs, and this is across all raid bosses, so all of them. Void Spire, Dream Rift, and March of Keldanas. And here we actually see Boomkin now in first place. It was, yeah, buffed quite a bit with patch 12.0 and fought its way to the top spot. If you compare that now, in 12.0, Boomkin was in the middle of the pack. Now it's at the very top. Another big winner, Devastation Evoker. It jumps from way down near the bottom into the top 10. Very, very interesting to see. And apart from that, Feral has also improved. That was also a spec that got buffed with the patch. From last place in the raid rankings to, let's say, the lower middle of the pack. So we can see here that the specs Blizzard has recently addressed have also improved. But all in all, there's still a gap between the best and the worst spec of about, well, 16k DPS. If we compare that now with 12.0.5, it was also 16k. And in 12.0, many, so yeah. That doesn't work because we didn't have enough kills yet. So yeah. The balance has stayed about the same. So the gap between the best and the worst spec. But there are now different specs at the bottom than before. Let's put it that way. All in all, let's see how things develop with patch 12.1. And of course, you also have to take a look at how things are with individual bosses. So here we really see the overview across all raids. If you take a look at that now version, all of a sudden Survival Hunter is at the top, so it really depends a lot on the damage profile of each boss. For example, here we see Midnight Falls, probably the most difficult or the most difficult boss in the whole expansion. Suddenly the Balanced Druid isn't doing well anymore, because it just doesn't fit the damage profile, so that's why it doesn't necessarily say that much whether a class is at the very top across all bosses or not, because sometimes you just have bosses where you can pad wonderfully, like here, Velgor and Esorak. Not the hardest boss, but consistently multiple targets. That's ideal for the balanced druid, of course. And that's why it performs pretty well in the end. If we take another look at Rodmire now, we can see that the top specs are doing 270k DPS. So that's already, yeah, pretty strong, if I may say so. And if we include Mythic 95 here now, then you can see right here. For example, Arcane Mage is at the top there, and the Balanced Druid comes in at around 174 and ends up in the middle of the pack. But you can also see that, for example, the buffs for the Feral didn't help much, since the Feral doesn't stand a chance here in a fight with more adds, some of which die pretty quickly. For the Arcane Mage, of course, that's a dream scenario. So yeah, all in all, I would say the balance isn't perfect yet. But it's definitely on a solid path. I think that's how you could describe it. And let's see how things go from here. So we can definitely see that the buffs from patch 12.0 have had an effect on many specs. Boomkin, Feral, Devastation Evoker, etc., etc. But I would also say that's a typical problem. Balancing is rarely done in such a way that all classes are close together. Instead of adjusting a class that was bad before, those classes suddenly become a bit better, but then others fall far behind again, just like we've seen here. Anyway, what do you think is a class that could definitely use some buffs? Feel free to write it in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Take care.